What's up in War Eagle, everybody? You got Ike Jones in here live post game. Auburn gets it done. Final 73-3. Big time win for the Tigers here. Game 1. Freeze 4. Everybody got into action. I mean, I'm gonna just let y'all talk, bro, because what I gotta say is everybody could get it this year, fam. Like, I ain't gonna overreact to it, you know what I'm saying, and try to act like, Alabama A&M was ever really had a chance. But this game was not close, and proud of the young men for going out there and competing the way they did. Go ahead and share the live with somebody out there so that we can get a good group of people in here for this game. I definitely want to see all of the Auburn family in here. Green Name Gang, appreciate y'all hanging out with me during halftime. You know what I mean? Yeah, man, I'm just gonna open it up and let y'all react in here. Whatever y'all want to talk about, because I ain't got too much to say. 70 points, 73 points, 70-point win. It ain't a whole bunch to say from me. Oh, but joining me live in here from the Up Tempo podcast is my guy Dustin. Ready, man. He ain't even ready, man. I got him in here too early. Dustin was still trying to check his phone out and things. I got him already in here. Dustin, what's up?
Just trying to make sure it was muted so don't go off on the live. But man, I'm good, man. Boy, that felt good, huh?
Man, it was amazing watching them go out there and put them things to them boys.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Freshmen all over the field, man. That's my initial reaction. Just seeing all these young guys making plays on the offense and the defense. You're excited about the season, and how can you not be excited about the future, dude?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it was a beautiful thing to watch Auburn actually go out there and execute the things. I mean, listen, let's start the conversation with the one guy who had the most off-season talk about him, and that's Payton Thorne, right? Mm-hmm. Payton had a great game. He did everything that you needed him. He showed you everything that you needed to see in this game from him. Again, I get it. I get the competition. I get, the resistance that wasn't there and blah, 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 this and this and that. There were still people who thought he wasn't going to do it versus A&M. Right. And he did everything that you needed. Like, he made the adjustments at the line of scrimmage. He hit the deep shots when they were open. He made some pinpoint throws over the middle of the field. He ran the ball when he needed to effectively. He did all the stuff you're supposed to do as a quarterback. He looked. This was the first time I watched Payton Thorne and said that's a fifth-year senior plan.
Yeah, it's like last year. We talked all the time about, hey, man, I'm not necessarily upset about the result. I'm upset about the way it looked. And tonight, turning the page on that, it's like, hey, I understand the opponent. I know that the score probably should have been somewhere around this, but it's about the way it looked. It looked clean. It looked efficient for the most part. I mean, I know there's going to, you had the miscommunication, or maybe it was just a bad throw with Smith there early when he was wide open. But like, you are working in a whole bunch of new receivers, so it wasn't going to be just crisp and perfect no matter the opponent. There was going to be some miscommunications. I thought like his incompletions, a lot of them were on deep balls, and I felt like, like the one to Perry. I'm okay with that ball placement. You had the one in the end zone. I think to Robert Lewis probably could have been a better pass. Rivaldo should have caught maybe both of those. Obviously, one of those he should have caught, but the one in the end zone, you kind of expect Valdo to come down with that. So, like, even the incompletions, I was okay with the ball placement because he didn't put the ball in danger.
Yeah, The only play I would say he put it in danger was the first post
Malcolm
through. Yeah, and it was behind him. That was the only one that maybe like a high quality DB could have broke on and made a play on that one. But outside of that, everything else looked good.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, like, it's been a long time since we've seen Auburn the pass to run ratio like that. Like, it was clear, hey, we're coming out, we're throwing the ball, we're going to show you guys what we got going on over here. Because what Jarquez have 4 attempts. He could have been over 4 attempts. So it just definitely seemed like the game plan was, let's show up, let's get these guys involved, let's get get our feet underneath us in the passing game. And yeah, man, just the way Payton looked, dude, just nice, confident. Other than that one pass, didn't put any balls in danger. I thought that in like the zone read game, he made the good decision the majority of the time. Looked effective with his legs, using them when he had to, and we won the game 73-3, and I still feel like we left a lot of we just didn't show a whole lot. Like it was like, hey, there's still a whole lot we got in the bag. And I watched that Cal game, and boy, their secondary looks sketchy versus
Man.
UC Davis, and it's like I think we can definitely have some explosive plays next week in the passing game as well. So really exciting, man. Really, really excited about the way Payton looked tonight, and got some optimism about this thing looking clean. And like I talked about all summer, I want to see a game plan.
Yeah.
I just want to see a game plan and us look like we know what we're doing. And off the top of my head, I can't think of any like pre-snap penalties on offense. Maybe there was one or two that I missed, but all that kind of stuff, like the operation, getting the plays in, it all looks good, man.
Yeah, I have no major issues with what I saw from the team today. I'm gonna grab a couple of these chats and hear some super chats here. Frankie Freeze says, "Man, they were gonna feed Kane on that last drive, and he gave it away."
Yeah.
I actually don't think that was a completion. I think that was an incomplete pass. I don't know that he ever actually secured that one, but the rest was ready to get out of there. They was like, "Man, just give him the ball. It's cool."
Yeah.
Heavy says was wrong about running the ball. Methinks Freeze is trying to impress a Notre Dame recruit. Listen, I think they did what they were supposed to do, which is they're reading what the defense gives, and we're just going to play football. We're not going to try to force one thing or the other. If y'all going to play single high safety, okay, I'll take my chances one-on-one with some of the best wide receivers in college football. That's fine. If that's the way you guys want to play defense, this is what you're going to get as a result. We're going to air it out on you. And I think A&M said to themselves, we're not going to get beat by their run game. We're not going to just let them push us around. And Payton Thorne's like, cool. I got guys I can throw the ball to, no problem. And the offensive line gave him time to sit back there and decide where he wanted to go with the football. Easy pickings. Payton Thorne, 13 of 21 tonight, 322 yards, 4 passing touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown with another 49 yards on the ground. Very efficient, very effective day for Payton Thorne. Otis Smith with the super chat says, I mean, I got what I wanted. We really did air it out. Our wide receiver room is beautiful. War Damn Eagle. Yeah, the wide receivers looked good. They look good.
A lot of those guys have a whole lot of eligibility left, too. They're just getting started, man.
Yeah. I mean, listen, we talked about it a little bit on the halftime reaction show, but the double move by Cam Coleman was filthy.
Yeah.
It's absolutely filthy. Like, he did it perfectly. He made it look like he was about to go get into his break. And then the minute he let off the throttle, he went back to 60 again. And he was past the DB in a couple of steps. Payton Thorne just floated it out there for him. That's exactly how you draw it up. And it looked wonderful. Keandre Lambert-Smith looked as advertised. He like the deep post he hit for the first touchdown. He just ran away from the dude.
Yeah.
I don't even know if Perry Thompson was running full speed and he was.
He wasn't.
He
wasn't. Yeah.
That's like he was running away from him, but he ain't even open up for real. I was like, yo, this is not fair, dude.
And he's one of those guys too, Ike, where he doesn't. He's moving faster than it looks. You know what I mean? Like there's long strides. So yeah, when he opens it up, he can go. So yeah, he was just cruising, man.
Yeah, that's what's crazy about it. I think he was on the safety before the safety realized. He's like, oh shoot, he's here already. And then Payton Thorne did a great job of leading him to open grass, right? Like he didn't try to put it on him. He just threw it out there in front of him and let him run it down. Great hands catch out in front. That's what you want to see from your big receiver. And then he put it in cruise control all the way to the end zone. I was like, yo, this is silly. It's literally silly, and it's not fair. But this is what I told the A&M crowd when I went on their show. I was like, listen, I'm sorry. The only outcome here that people are going to be satisfied with is absolutely an absolute beatdown of A&M, and that's exactly what they delivered, bro. They had 28 in the first quarter. Like it was
middle school it up. I mean, they cut the clock in half in the second half.
Yeah. Appreciate the gifted memberships here from Brian Hancher. He comes back with a super chat and says, well, will we be last in the SEC in time of possession? I don't know. If they're going to score like this, it's going to be ridiculous. That one point in time, they put a stat up on the board that said the average time of possession was something like 23 seconds. I was like, This is silly, man. This is absolutely silly. But it's fun. Like if you're an Auburn fan, it's fun. It's you haven't been able to watch this level of fun watching your team play football in a while. And I love the energy that was out there. And I loved Hugh Freeze absolutely chewing Payton Thorne out in the middle of a blowout to say, "Hey, this is not what you're supposed to do, right? Like, do it right." He was
I
not
agree.
on PT like that last year at all.
Yeah.
You never saw him get on him like that on the sideline last year. He is so locked in right now as a coach. You almost now my expectation levels have raised
Mm.
because he's set the bar to say, no, that's not acceptable. I get it. We're beating them down. Do it right.
Yeah, yeah. And DJ was the same way. I mean, late there in the
Yeah.
fourth, so I can't remember who it was, but one of the young guys ran the wrong way. It led to a first down around the edge, and he was all over him. So yeah, just the energy feels different, man. Everybody brought the juice tonight, and that's something I like. Looking forward to coming out of halftime. We came right back out of halftime. The whole team still had energy. The whole team still had juice. Young guys flying around. I mean, like Malik blocked tonight.
Yeah.
Malik blocked him, dude. Our guy Robert Woodyard. 17 was in there every play in the second half, man. And when you go back and you think like, yes, it is an FCS opponent and all that, but recently Auburn struggled with a lot of these lower ranked opponents, and again, it just feels different. It just feels different. You look at it and you say, okay, there's real weapons, and there's a real plan to deploy those weapons. So yeah, my expectation level has raised a little bit too. I know that there's still going to be moments when we're playing Power Four teams where the freshmen make mistakes and it costs you a lot more because the level of competition is raised, and I expect that going on throughout the year. But just seeing all these young guys show up tonight, ready to play, and then seeing the improvement of a guy like Robert Woodyard,
Mhm.
I really think this young class showed up
Yeah.
with the attitude. Like Hugh Freeze, we heard all these guys when they were committing. They all said they would all say somewhere in their commitment quotes, "I'm coming to Auburn to turn Auburn back into Auburn." And I think Hugh Freeze really sold those guys on that. So they come in the summer, and all of a sudden you're looking around and you're like, "Whoa, these young cats can push me out my job. They're already pushing me for playing time, and they're coming in early and staying late with the right mindset." And I think it just raised the game of everybody. It was kind of one of those, crap or get off the pot type moments. And so I think that the guys you've got in the locker room now are bought in. And like I said, just the coaching staff, like you saw the continuity tonight. Like, man, it just looked like the offense had a plan, and I'm so excited about that. So yeah, I agree with you. The expectations for the season for me are kind of looking at it like, hey, the ceiling. I still expect there to be some lows at times,
Yeah.
but the ceiling maybe has raised a little bit, in my opinion. Is what this team can do if things go right.
Yeah. I definitely want to see it against some tougher competition. I don't
Yeah,
know if next week's going to offer tougher competition the way that Cal looked in this first game.
man.
Um, and we'll talk exhaustively about the Cal game after tonight. I don't want to look ahead too much. I do want to focus on tonight's victory. But I think it might be week 4 before you see any resistance from anybody, but we'll see what it looks like next week. Super chat here from Otis Smith says we legit have 3 NFL caliber wide receivers. Shoot, I think that number might be low, right? Like
Yeah,
Coleman's an NFL caliber wide receiver. Keandre Lambert Smith is a pro wide receiver. Malcolm Simmons probably isn't like your prototypical guy, but he can definitely be a slot wide receiver that would go to the league. And I think Perry Thompson is a guy that could do that as well. Robert Lewis, actually, even though he didn't get a chance to show it very much because they didn't throw him the ball very much, I think that he's a pro as far as the way he approaches it. He's probably not going to be an all-star in the league or anything like all pro in the league, but he's a guy who I think could make a 53-man roster or 52-man roster. So yeah, there's professional players on this team, and that's one of the things that I talked about coming into the season. That's how you evaluate really how good your ball club is. How many of these people can play at the next level? Like
mm,
legitimately, can you see? And then you start to get into that elite level when you say you got a couple of first day draft picks, or you've got a couple of day 1, day 2 draft picks on there, right? Not just guys who could make a club, but like they could be drafted first, second, third round. And, you know, Auburn's got a couple of them on the field this year. that could see their name called in the first 3 rounds of the NFL draft if they play it right, for the remainder of their career.
Yeah, and I just want to say real quick on the wide receivers, don't sleep on Bryce Cain. Like I know the other 3 guys showed out. Bryce Cain's gonna make a lot of plays in his career at Auburn.
Yeah.
So yeah, and he's gonna be fine.
Super chat here from Heavy who says, "I want to believe, but I'm an Auburn fan with PTSD. I'm still enjoying this win though." Yeah, absolutely. Listen, here's the thing. I'm not sitting here saying Auburn's going to win a national championship this year, but I was also in the boat of I could see this team only winning 6 games if it doesn't go well. Now I'm like, 7, 8 games, I could legitimately, right? Like, again, I don't want to project too far because it's too early against some weak competition. But Cal, of course, did not look impressive to me today. That's a game that it wasn't in. That was in your toss column, right? Before the season.
Yes, it is. It is now in my boss column.
Yeah, like that game should firmly be in everybody's boss column at this point in time. If they don't go out there and house Cal, I'm going to be upset now just from watching Cal week 1. The only team that looked decent today that everybody thought was going to be trash was Vandy.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of what you saw from Ole Miss. I mean, not Ole Miss, excuse me, Oklahoma. I don't know what to make of what you saw from Missouri because both of them are playing nobody. We were playing nobody. Like, let's be clear. We didn't play a team that should have offered much resistance. This Texas A&M game, the defense looks how I thought it was going to look under Mike Elko. They're out there flying around and they're putting up, a tough resistance to a decent Notre Dame team, right? So that game by no means is going to be an easy one. But Kentucky, I didn't watch very much of their game, so I don't really know what to make of them. Notre Dame just scored, by the way. Auburn's got an opportunity here to of the 8 home games, I think they can easily win 7 of them. Yeah, well, not easily. Excuse me, not easily, because Texas A&M is one of them. But like Vanderbilt, I don't know if I believe them yet, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, good start for Vanderbilt. Let's see how it goes when they start having injuries. By the time they play us November 2nd, I believe. Let's see if their depth
how much
is holding.
Depth? Yeah,
let's see
how much depth do they have. That's going to be the important thing. Another one from Otis Smith says, "Meanwhile, Hunter, Austin, and Cobb smiling ear to ear, just knowing they are about to feast." Listen, if you can throw the ball in this league, that means that you can't stack the box. And I actually think Auburn is a better run blocking team than they are a pass blocking team this year. So if Payton Thorne's making quick decisions to guys who can make contested catches, then that makes it to where you have to figure out something else to do, which means you're either going to be blitzing more or like you got to do something else to disrupt what he's doing from a passing game, which means the run game is now open to you. And Jarquez Hunter, just every year he seems to just hurdle somebody. Just every single there's not been a year Jarquez Hunter has not been on a football field and not hurled someone.
Yeah,
it's just what nasty. He does.
And Jeremiah looked like he could have ate today if we really wanted to.
Yeah, the run game looked good. All the backs looked good up until Justin Jones hit Cam Brown's elbow on his way past. He looked good. John Jackson looked good. They were absolutely overmatched in this game. It wasn't fair. I tweeted at one point in time, they just call PETA at this point in time because this is abuse of Bulldogs. Like there are Bulldogs out here getting drugged around Jordan-Hare Stadium. But I loved every minute of it. Damian Prentice says Freeze pulled that spatula out tonight. Oh, to my how many people they flipping? Because there were some recruits in the building and they absolutely got a show tonight. And I'd be at this point in time, I'd be shocked if Auburn's not like the number 2 class in the country at least next season. 2025 class is looking like it's going to be a top 2 class at this point in time.
Yeah, we're cooking. And then you're putting proof of concept on the field now, or at least you did tonight.
Well, that's what's crazy. He did all of this with no proof of concept before now. And then he's like, hey, y'all remember when I told y'all what my offense is supposed to look like? Here it is. And they're like, oh, crap. That's what that's supposed to look like? Oh, man. And then you're going to add us to that? Yeah.
Here's the thing, too, is when you tell these freshmen, hey, you come here and I'm going to find a way to put you on the field early, you got the tape to prove it. I mean, they
Yeah,
were all
that's what
over
I'm
the
saying.
field. The first play of our season went to Malcolm Simmons.
Yeah. Yeah. Malik Blockton was out there, rep one on defense.
Yep.
So there were true freshmen getting real playing time tonight, making real contributions all over the field. He doesn't have to sell anything anymore. He could just turn the tape on.
Yeah.
You step into the office, let's just turn the tape on, and you see, hey, you see where this guy's lined up? That could be you next year. It's not because this other guy's got seniority. I'm letting everybody rock.
How
We're just
about
gonna
Caleb
rotate
Harris getting
guys
in there
through.
at safety, making plays?
He was just letting guys go out there and fly around, man. So it's a beautiful thing to see. It gives you some hope for the future out here. Next up, we got Brian Hancher, who says, I think the more telling stars in this one are about the players we got involved. 3 quarterbacks, 9 or 10 wide receivers catching, second string O-line, future depth. The second string O-line was out there with Payton Thorne, right? Like they were just like, all right, cool. We're just going Connor Lew and company. Come on off the field. We'll just put the second group in there. And it didn't stop anything. We're just going to go out there and continue to dominate.
Yeah, DeAndre Carter is already in the 2 deep. To see him out there, 18 years old, his first game in the SEC. I understand the opponent, but at O-line, man, that's not an easy thing to do. So to be out there in the 2 deep already, love seeing Braden Joyner out there as a redshirt freshman. And then how long has it been since you can say this? I'm excited about the future of Auburn's offensive line. I'm looking at the 2 deep of our offensive line, and I'm excited when the second string comes in because it's like, oh, these guys are all young. And I see the pathway to them being good and developing, and I haven't felt that way about the offensive line in decades. It feels like.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you have Connor Lew, who
Stud.
He's not going to make it past his junior. If he gets to a senior season at Auburn, it's only because he wanted the degree, not because he's not going to be draft eligible and somebody wants to go pick him up. So you've got Connor Lew there, but you've got guys like Braden Joyner who are behind him who can pick up the slack. And you just mentioned a DeAndre Carter and a Dylan Sender. Like there's I can just sit here and rattle off names of offensive linemen that are quality offensive linemen that can't crack the starting lineup just because there's so much talent there. And that's the position you want to be in. And they're still going to be recruiting for the future. It's a beautiful thing.
Oh, Broderick Scholl, I'll say it right here, and I'm not shy. Broderick Scholl will come in next year and be on the 2 deep in the same way DeAndre Carter is. We haven't recruited a guy like Broderick Scholl at O-line. He's unbelievable, man. He'll be in the 2 deep immediately.
If they pull Babaloa,
yes, yeah.
You see, like it's just like we can get into this. We just keep rattling off names thing, and that like when is the last time you? I'll answer it. Never. You will never able to say this at Auburn. Like we've had talent at Auburn. We've had teams that have had 3-star guys that have played above their helmets and all this kind of stuff. But like just to sit here and say, oh, 4 and 5 stars on deck. Nah, that's never been an Auburn reality. But that's something where Coach Hugh Freeze is turning the corner on that. Ben Bloodworth jumps in, scoring more than all SEC teams except Ole Miss with 10 less minutes is very nice feeling. Football is fun again. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing to be able to see. Notre Dame got the ball back already? Sheesh. Anyway, it's a beautiful thing to be able to see the offense go out there and put up some real points. Like, again, it's been a while since you were able to just watch a beatdown like this. I mean, listen, year 1 versus Harsin, they put up, 60-something points versus
Akron and then Alabama
A&M,
yeah.
right? Like, so it's not as if it never happened in the recent history. But let's be clear, those games felt a little different. Like the Akron game probably felt like a real beatdown. Alabama A&M was actually close for a little bit in that first half, and then it got crazy later in the game because I think they only had like 24 in the first half of that game, and then like the block kick happens, right, and all this kind of stuff happens. It kind of just spirals on them. Yeah, this was a beatdown from the beginning, from the word go. It was just like touchdown, 3 and out, touchdown, 3, like literally one play touchdown drives That's something Blake talks about. Like what happened to the explosive plays at Auburn, where it's like you're not having to do 10,
9,
12
10
play.
play drive.
Nah, bro, we out the gate with it. Like we're gonna take a shot on the first play and we're gonna house call it. Like that happened multiple times tonight.
Yeah, and look, there's a lot of college football has been played. There's a lot of programs out there. To be the 13th program with 800 wins, which we got our 800th win tonight all the time, that's big time, man.
Yeah,
Big time.
like again, I think people forget that Auburn is one of the 20 best programs in the history of this sport. But hey, it's good to be back on the right side of this thing.
Yeah, you could
Heavy.
be in Gainesville. In Gainesville right now.
Did you see? Like, I don't even know if it's real, but there's a post on social media from one of their players in the locker room putting up
Bro,
the middle
yeah.
finger,
I
and
think
the
it's real.
caption says "F this team." I'm like, yo, it's bad out the gate like that, like that.
They got a whole lot of tough games still ahead of them, Mike. A lot.
Sunbelt Billy. I hope your resume is well typed and you've gone ahead and gotten your contact list together. Because my friend, if you plan on coaching next season, you might want to get ahead of it. Get your agent on the phone and say, hey man, just go ahead and put some feelers out.
We've been there recently. Penn State game at home felt the same way.
Yeah. Heavy says O and D line thoughts, offensive line and defensive line thoughts. I'll let you take first shot at this one.
Yeah, like I said, first of all, like just excited about the future of the offensive line. When you look at, I was just still Connor Lew only being a sophomore, you still basically got 2 years out of him. Seeing those guys get in there, in the second stringers get in there and make plays and do their thing. I knew that Hugh Freeze was going to be able to turn the offensive line around eventually, because if there's any question about Hugh Freeze, it's not, or at least get the talent in there that we haven't had in a while, because we all know he can recruit. That's, you don't question that about him. I didn't necessarily think it would be this far down the line this early. And, still got to kind of wait to make a final judgment on it when we face a team that can actually challenge us in the trenches.
Right.
But as far as just kind of the narrative that built up over fall camp, about the O-line was going to be a problem and all that, it looked like Auburn could have ran the ball, could have done whatever we wanted to do on offense tonight. The decision was to pass the ball. I mean, any one of our backs could have had 100. Hell, if we would have kept giving it to Jeremiah, he could have maybe came close to 100 on that drive alone when we were feeding the ball a couple of times. So, and then on the defensive line, just again, really excited for the future, seeing a guy like Malik blocked in his first game just tear it up. And I don't think that I'm impressed with the way our D-line played tonight, and I'm pretty sure that DJ Durkin didn't show a whole lot. Like, we know what he brings to the table, so I'm really excited to kind of see those guys crank it up next week. Keldrick looked good. He didn't, just kind of conserving him, playing him here and there. Yeah, man, just it was a little bit better than I thought it was going to be. Like, I was thinking 49-10, 52-10, something like that. And it's to come out to be like 73-3. I don't care who the opponent is. Like, you kicked ass, man, and you need to be happy about it. And I just think there's a lot of guys, like, going into the spring, D-line was like the big question for a lot of us. How are we going to get pressure on the passer? Are we going to be able to stop the run? And I'm still not like sold that it's going to be just great and all that. But I think some of those concerns tonight have kind of, been quieted down a little bit. Like, you see the potential, you see the depth that's there. And yeah, I think we're just getting started on the line of scrimmage, man. And then the 2025 kids that we have committed on the O line and the D line.
That D line class is starting to look absolutely disgusting. Golly, it's starting to look disgusting. Oh my goodness. My thoughts on it. I mean, again, it's hard to judge it on a night where the other team can't push you back the way that you would want to be able to test those guys, but they did what they were supposed to do. You didn't see a bunch of holding penalties. You didn't see a bunch of pre-snap penalties. You didn't see a bunch of, missed assignments out there on the line. A couple of times when you got into that third string, you see some guys might take a bad angle or get caught by a misdirection, but for the most part, they did what they needed to do. And handle business. So, kudos to those young guys for going out there, making it happen. Oda Smith jumps back in with another super chat, and he says, I love the fact that Freeze is coaching mad. Yeah, man, listen, Coach Freeze, again, it's a noticeable difference in the way that he's coaching this year versus how he coached last year. It's a noticeable difference. He's not accepting just, hey man, we're gonna go. Like, I would wager to say his energy in the post game is probably different right now than it had been previously. Like, he was last year, he was just kind of like, yeah, man, happy to be here. We gotta winning games is tough, man. We gotta go out here and win. Right now, he's like, he's probably just like soak it in, but we gotta go out here and we gotta do it again next week.
Yeah, these guys, these high level SEC coaches, these high level D1 coaches, they're the most competitive human beings in the world. I mean, like everybody watching the show, y'all know what it takes to be a D1 coach. Like, you follow this stuff, you see how much work these guys got to put in. And he said last year, I believe, like, maybe it was after the bowl game, but maybe it was a press conference a little bit after. I know it was after the season was over, where he said, "Hey, I didn't do a good job coaching this year."
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Just on the field, the product we put on the field." He said, "I didn't do a good job." He came flat out and said that. And I think he's a really competitive person that is very prideful, knows that he's a good coach. And he just said, we're not going to do this again. And I think that his messaging all offseason has sounded a whole lot different than it did the season before. A lot more positive about the current locker room, about the current situation, really showing love to guys and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, and I think that kind of plays into what Otis talking about here with him being mad. It feels like he's a little bit more engaged. And I'm not saying they didn't care last year, but it probably was a situation where it's like, well, I'm watching the offense be clunky and not work, but that's Philip Montgomery's show. Like, now it's his show, it's his offense, this is my thing, and I'm going to show y'all that when I'm in charge of this, it's not that. And I think that's a lot of what you see. Like, he's engaged, he's pissed off, he wants to prove that I'm better than what I put on tape last year as a head coach.
I think he is coaching to erase the memory of last year.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, no, like, and that's why I think he got not upset, but he was dismissive at press conferences when people were like asking him questions about last season. It's like, well, last year, blah, blah. He's like, honestly, I don't even want to talk about last year anymore. Like, in his mind, he's like, man, I wish we could just remove that from my coaching record. That wasn't me. Like, I know it says Hugh Freeze on the door. I know that officially goes on I don't want to talk about that last year because that's not me. And you will see a better version of me this year. And you like, he doesn't have to say it. You could feel the energy of that. Like, it's going to be different going forward. And so but what I like about that even more than anything else is these young guys get to see it from the gate. Like, it's not like he's switching up on them. It's like, no, from day one, this is how I'm going to coach you. And if you don't like being coached this way, this might not be. But if you want to win football games, we're going to do it. We're going to have fun doing it. We're going to go out here and we're going to sandblast some people. I'm going to coach you hard and we're going to go win some football games. If you like that, this is the place for you. And hey, listen, we're blessed to be able to put some money in your pocket while you're doing it, but you got to earn it. I love that. I love every word of that. You could go the opposite way and be Dabo Swinney. We'll come back to that another time.
Lord.
Let's see here. James Barnett. Ike, remember I have been saying top 3 class in 10 games. I'm sticking with that, along with the possibility of landing a number 1 class. I know that you've been saying that, James, and I ain't mad at it at all, man. I'm still not ready to go to 10 wins yet. But what I am willing to say is that this team gives us a high potential, and top 3 class, I feel, is almost guaranteed at this point in time. So I'm definitely with you on half of that. I'm ready to say that's now. That yes. Brian Hancher, Ike did another membership gift so more can watch the film. I appreciate that. I do see that another 5 memberships gifted there. So we will be, for the Green Name Gang, watching film later on this week. So not this week, next week. So like Monday or Tuesday, if you are a member, we'll be doing some watch the film stuff. What kind of stuff are you guys doing for your members over there on your channel?
A whole lot of recruiting stuff right now with everything going on. Me and Blake have both been traveling to games every Friday night, and so we're breaking that down. Then we get in there and we watch their huddle. We go and get the clips and talk about that. So got some basketball stuff, got some baseball stuff coming up. It's really just kind of doing a whole lot of stuff, man, really. But me personally, I'm really hard on the recruiting right now. I'm pumping out 2 or 3 recruiting podcasts a week, at least, for our members.
So y'all make sure y'all check in with my guy over there on the Up Tempo podcast, getting all of that
sure,
in. Ben Bloodworth says we don't fumble twice. It's 87-3. Wild. I truly believe they were going to go in and score again. If the first fumble doesn't happen, the second fumble, I'm not sure whether or not they score on that drive, but it seemed as if because they were letting them throw the ball, that they were just going to be like, all right, we're going to run the full offense, and if they stop it, they stop it. But Bryce Kane was off to the races. If he's able to secure that one, I'm not really sure it was an actual fumble, and he seemed like he took it hard, right? He's over there on the sidelines, kind of, went directly underneath the tent and just kind of chilling or whatever by himself. And that probably is hard for him to see all of his other freshman comrades out there like shining, and he gets his first real opportunity to do something and he fumbles it. But I mean, Malcolm had a moment. He dropped a wide open pass out there, right? So he happened to get in the end zone twice as well. But yeah, I think that's a difficulty when you're seeing all of your other guys shine out there. But hopefully he holds that little bit of something in him, so next time he gets an opportunity, he really shows what he's got, because he's got absolute talent to be able to go out there and be a game breaker.
But shout out to Coach Freeze for even in that moment trying to get him the ball. So it's not a situation where people are like, three of these guys got catches and Bryce didn't get one. Like, they clearly went into that last drive like, we're going to get Bryce a catch.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Damian Prentice with the super chat says, the way Freeze tore into Thorne, I felt that all the way through the TV. Yeah, he was giving him an earful. It was about a misthrow and a misread, right? Like, he read one of them wrong, he threw up one of them wrong. And again, Coach Freeze is this is the Coach Freeze that I heard about, right? Like, last offseason, he said that, he needed to coach Payton Thorne a little differently, because, he'll light into him or whatever. And he felt like Thorne wasn't reacting the way, blah, blah. He's like, well, maybe I need to change my approach. This year, I think he didn't care. He's like, look, man, we got to get this right. But what I had heard about Coach Freeze coming into Auburn was he's really tough on quarterbacks. Like, if you're going to be a quarterback and play for Coach Freeze, you just have to deal with the fact that he's going to really be obsessive about you getting things right. And like, there are no mistakes that you can make and Coach Freeze is okay with it at the quarterback position. But it seemed as if last year that wasn't the case. He was just kind of like, all right. And you could tell it's like burning him on the inside. It's like, okay, that's not how I would have done it, but okay. And that, between that and the play calling, he was just like, yo, man, whatever. I'm finna go out here and recruit. Like, okay, y'all got this. Let me go ahead and recruit. This year, nah. This is my ship, and we're gonna steer it properly.
It was really nice to see quarterbacks come in and out the game, not like mid, you know what I'm saying? Like switching out in the middle of the first quarter. It was Payton played his time and then he came out, and then Hank played his time and got his touchdown, and then he came out. And so no 2 QB system after 2 years of going through that crap. That felt good as well, man. Like, hey, we're gonna act like a normal team here, as a moth flies in front of my computer.
Super chat, Oda Smith says, laughing out loud, Deuce, KJ Lacey, and Juju gonna straight up fist fight for a spot on this roster with these wide receivers. So I think the Juju thing is settled. I think that they've moved on from him. So whether he wants back in or not, I don't think that they're going to be pursuing him unless for some reason they don't feel like they can get one of the other two. I feel like KJ Lacey is pretty set on going to Texas. Deuce feels very likely at this point in time, right? So, here's because I don't do the high school evaluation of these three quarterbacks. In your estimation, who is the guy that fits best with what Coach Freeze wants to do?
Yeah, so going to get out to Loosedale soon, maybe the next 2 or 3 weeks. I'll be at the Cal game next week. So Auburn High actually plays Opelika, so I'm going to watch Malik Autry next week. But maybe that next Friday, go out there and check Deuce out. So I don't ever like to give absolutes, if I haven't watched him play in person. I have watched KJ Lacey play in person a couple of times. They all three do some things a little bit different. So as far as matching Hugh Freeze, I would probably say Deuce. Like, KJ is a close fit to that. But yeah, I think Deuce is probably the best fit for overall for what he wants to do as far as just the system and all that.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, listen, I haven't watched any of these guys tape. Not as like I'm not even gonna lie to y'all and be like, yeah, man, because I heard like I have not watched a single minute of any high school players tape that's not signed to Auburn. But I am looking forward to seeing what happens with these young men. I just hope whomever it is patient enough to say that I don't like takes the Walker White mentality of I'm going to come here and I'm going to work hard. But if I don't start day one, I'm fine with that because I'm going to be ready whenever my number does get called.
Yeah, in my opinion, none of those three guys are going to be ready to start day one. And Deuce especially, like I think he has the highest ceiling out of the three. But it's going to take him a year or two to get ready. And I mean, like most quarterbacks, I mean, you mentioned Walker White, like it's just going to take time. So, and I see it's so funny to like see a lot of stuff going around. Like, well, does Walker White transfer if we get Deuce? No, you got to get a quarterback every class. You're going to go get the best one that you can get, and they all understand that. Like, it's not going to be some big deal for Walker that we go and get Deuce. Like, in Walker's opinion, I'm a top 150 player myself. Watch what I do.
Yeah, I mean, listen, and I hope they embrace that competition. And and if the time comes where it's clear you're not going to get your shot, absolutely hit the portal and go do something. But I don't think just because you sign a QB in the next class, a kid should jump ship immediately. You've got a whole year worth of knowledge in the system on them. You've got a year in the strength and conditioning program. If you're Walker White, you're already physically there where you need to be. You learn the system. You play with these receivers more than these other guys have because they haven't had the opportunity to. You should come in and saying, "Yeah, this is my spot, bro. You got to come take it." And let's go out here and compete. AU Templin says depth was apparent on the D line tonight. They looked fresh when A&M was worn out in the fourth. UNM, that's New Mexico, giving Zona all they can handle right now. So yeah, New Mexico putting up a fight out there, which is good for them. They just gonna fight until they come to our spot and get beat down. Again, I told you I got smoke for everybody this year. I'm not coming in here pussyfooting around about, well, I don't know if we can beat. We officially have kicked off the first game. My bug is activated. Everybody can get the smoke this season. Everybody. And this is not because we did good against A&M. I said I was going to do this before the season started. We're just here. And we're at that point in time where they still got to line it up and beat us as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, Ike, I know we got a guest lined up in here, but I got to get out of here, buddy. Check us out tomorrow, man. We're going to be live 9:45, 10 o'clock, somewhere in there. Up-tempo podcast, going to be reviewing the game and everything. And I appreciate you having me on tonight, buddy.
Absolutely, Dustin. Appreciate you, man. Make sure y'all lock in with the guys over at Up Tempo, and we'll see you next time, buddy.
Yes, sir. Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. War Damn Eagle, everybody.
All right. Next up, we got coming in here, joining us live from out there at Jordan-Hare Stadium is our guy, Mike G. Mike G, what's up, baby?
Feeling good. It was a great time here in Jordan-Hare tonight. At one point, like, people were feeling so good, they were cheering for everything that went on the monitor. Like a 4-year-old was doing cartwheels, and everybody went wild. It was electric in here tonight. I think a lot of people were happy to see the offense.
Did Mike freeze for everybody, or is it just me? Out here with the live production. I think that's Mike. I ain't seen anybody in the chat say anything. All right. I'll remove him from the stage until he gets that sorted out right there. But yeah, man, it was a good environment. I wish I could have been there to see it in person. Somebody asked earlier, where's the rest of the game? Of course, you see Mike was there at the game. And the other guys, Caesar and B. Will, had other obligations they had to do tonight, so they were not able to be on. But we will definitely get the rest of the gang in here. I think everybody should be on tomorrow. I'll double check and see what's up with that. But yeah, the atmosphere was definitely electric. I was getting reports from a lot of people who were at the game about how it was feeling out there. Guys were just ready to see some football, and they got their money's worth, man. You wanted to see the young freshmen go out there and show out. They did that. You wanted to see Payton Thorne go out there and sling it around. He did that. You wanted to see the running backs do something good. They did that. He wanted to see special teams make some plays. You got an almost touchdown from Keontae Scott. You got a blocked punt for a touchdown between Micah Riley blocking it and Malcolm Simmons return or recovering it, right? So you got the only thing you didn't get, which what you almost got, was a turnover from the defense, and J.C. Hart had that boy right there in his hands, and it slipped out of his fingertips. It's the only thing you didn't get in this game. And so if you went to that game, you definitely got your money's worth. Look here at the statistics for the game in total. And again, we'll look at this more in depth tomorrow, but too many first downs given up, 13 first downs, a lot of those late in the game from A&M, but Auburn had 18 first downs, which is crazy considering how many points they put up. They just didn't, it didn't take them much time. 628 total yards, 451 of those passing yards, which is also an amazing day. Alabama A&M dominated time of possession. 41 minutes they had the ball in this game and only mustered 3 points. Now, granted, they missed field goals in that as well, so they could have had 9. But an absolute destruction of what happened there with A&M. I still got to get my guy, Scotty, was texting me during the game, and he said, hey, man, I told you that quad was good for at least a field goal, maybe 7 points. And that's exactly what they got. And he's like, man, I know what I be talking about. So people might be mad at, might try to say something about Scotty. Scotty knew what he's talking about. He said that defense for A&M is going to be trash. Y'all should be able to get whatever points you want to. That's exactly what happened. And he said that quarterback was good to get you at least one score. That's exactly what happened. So, hey, y'all can talk about my boy Scotty all you want to. He was right. He was absolutely right. We're going to have that follow-up conversation, though, because I told him that offense was going to be doing some things differently this year. We'll see what he has to say about that. I think we got Mike G ready. Whenever he gives me a thumbs up, then we'll bring him back in here and get his assessment. He was out there at the press conference. Mike G back live here at Jordan-Hare Stadium. Talk to us, man. You were saying the crowd was cheering for cartwheels and things.
Yeah, it was a really good feeling in the stadium tonight. I think people were really happy to see the offense actually moving the ball. Now, there was a 60-40 run-pass ratio tonight in favor of the pass. Hugh Freeze says ideally he'd like to see that the other way around, but they took what was there tonight, and what was there was a whole lot of throws by Payton. It was what they expected. They didn't want to put anything on paper, like on film for Cal or for any other opponent. And I'm not sure that you learned anything about Auburn's offense tonight and what they plan to run, other than the receivers are dangerous and can make plays.
Right.
And that's exactly what he wanted. So resounding success for Auburn tonight. Note for our listeners, they cut quarters 3 and 4 short tonight.
Yep. At the request, apparently, of the officials and after conferring with the A&M coaches. And Freeze agreed to it.
Yeah, Coach Freeze said that it started with the officials. They took it to A&M. After they agreed, they brought it to him. He has the last right of refusal. He could have been like, no, take this beat down for another 30 minutes. But they cut it short to 20 minutes, and he felt like it was the right thing to do, despite wanting to get live game reps for Walker White. So, look, this was obviously you can't overreact to the win, but I would argue, Isaac, there was not a single game last year where Auburn executed that well on offense.
No, there wasn't.
I don't think that could be overlooked. So
the closest game you would have would maybe be the Samford game, but in that Samford game, the first half looked rough.
Yeah. It was remarkable what they were able to do tonight. In talking to Payton, he was happy to come out of the game when they pulled him out, but he could have stayed in. And him and I had a side bet about him throwing for 599 yards. He didn't get left in long enough to be able to reach that mark.
Listen, if he had played the entire game with the way they were throwing it around, I don't know if he might not have done it, though.
He probably would have broken Nick Marshall's single game passing record, which was 456 yards in the Iron Bowl in 2014. And also, Auburn came up 5 points short of breaking the single game scoring record, which was 76 points. So another 4 or 5 points there would have broken that record for them. Ultimately, they're happy to get out of here with the win. And you you had some big time recruits. This is something that we're not talking about. Alford was here tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Naeem Alford was here tonight. And I believe the linebacker, the 4-star linebacker from Miami, was also here tonight.
Yep.
So, you had some kids here. There were like 3 recruits in house that if they flip, Auburn is probably looking at a top 2 or 3 class. So this was big for Hugh Freeze for not only to win, but to display an offense and a team that looked confident on defense. Look, man, they didn't really give up anything on defense. They played well on defense. They swarmed into the football. There was a play by J.C. Hart there. I think it was in the second quarter. Should have been an interception.
Mm-hmm.
Turned into a big play for A&M. But look, man, they only allowed 3 points tonight. They'll go back to the tape and see what they can do better there. But I think year 2 of the Hugh Freeze era got kicked off exactly how you would want it to be.
Yeah, no, this is the way that they wanted to be able to come out and make a statement in a game that they're supposed to win, but winning it the way that they're supposed to win it.
Yeah.
So next week we'll see what happens with Cal, if they can offer more resistance than this, and then we'll be able to kind of adjust expectations a little bit. But yeah, absolutely. Any other thoughts from what you like, emotion wise, from the press conference or anything that you heard out there that you want to talk about?
Yeah, look, when the players were leaving the press conference, Payton Thorne was one of the last ones to go. And let me tell you something. Every single player stopped by and rubbed him on the shoulders and says, QB1, right? It was like, look, man, there's a different feeling in the building here. And, we reported on our show that players had told us that he had a stranglehold on the offense. He seems to have a stranglehold on his teammates' confidence in him as well, too. But there was a really good feeling in the building tonight. And I thought that this was a great step for Auburn in the right direction. Other notes that I have, I don't know if you noticed, but Malcolm Simmons started at the slot,
Mm-hmm.
right? As a matter of fact, I think he caught the first pass of the game.
He did. That's correct.
And so the freshmen were on full display. I thought that Bryce Kane was interestingly absent from this game plan until the end. I think he had a fumble there in the fourth quarter, which was disappointing. But outside of him, Cam Coleman, Malcolm Simmons, Perry Thompson, those guys delivered. On the first pass that Perry dropped, he said, man, I didn't look the ball in. That's on me. He said that was completely on him. And look, man, there's lots to build on there, but it's a positive, I think, if you're Hugh Freeze, that, you are signaling to recruits, this is a new day at Auburn. And if you come here, we're going to throw it around. You're going to have fun. And look, man, he was happy for his guys tonight. I think fans were happy to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Mike G. Well, we appreciate you checking in live from Jordan-Hare Stadium. We'll be live tomorrow and get full thoughts on the game during the weekend tailgate. But, man, get home safely.
All right.
War Eagle. Peace. War Eagle. That's Mike G joining us live from Jordan-Hare Stadium, giving us an initial reaction to the post-game activities there with Coach Hugh Freeze and some of the players talking to the media. At some point in time tonight, we'll have those full comments up on the channel from the players, from both of the coaches from the game tonight. Jazzy Joe jumps in with a super chat and says, "What is this team? What did I watch? You can tell there's a difference in play calling. We threw the ball so much, and it wasn't because we had to. No, they were throwing the ball because that's what the defense said to do, and they've had the matchups they liked, and they went out there and made it happen. I loved it. Love to see it. Again, it's not what I thought was going to happen, right? Like, I was very much of the thought that, hey, man, they don't want to show anything too much, so they're just going to go out here and try to run the ball down their throat and beat them into submission. And they still kept it vanilla, but they did it by just taking what the defense gave them. Love to see that. I love to see the communication between Payton Thorne and the receiver saying, oh, we got this. Look, let's go to this real quick. Hit them up with that. And I loved seeing wide receivers communicate, about what they needed to do on certain, like, it was beautiful watching the communication. Again, Green Name Gang, we'll be watching that film. I'll point out some of this stuff to you guys when we get out there watching this film review. I guess this is supposed to be a Smith with a 7 in there instead of a T, but he gets a super chat and says 2024 exceeding expectations, 2025 playoff berth, 2026 the run. So he's got it mapped out there for what he feels like Auburn's going to do over the next 3 years. I mean, exceeding expectations is not going to take very much, depending upon what your expectations were for this year. Again, I'm not going to overreact to this game about what this team can be, but what I can say is I do like the direction that everything is taken as far as what I feel as if the command of the offense is for Payton Thorne. I just want to see what it's going to look like when there's more adversity. So when there are teams that can actually push back a little bit, that might be able to put some points up where like scoring is going to be more incumbent, is that defense going to be able to get stingy against teams that they feel a little bit more threatened by? Those are the things I am definitely looking forward to seeing. How do you respond when somebody pushes back? I think that was the last super chat that we had right now. So let's get into some of these other comments. Again, appreciate you guys jumping in with us. As always, we are here reacting after the game. We'll probably be on here a little bit longer. I ain't going to be on too long because it's already late. And I know y'all want to get out and celebrate the win if you're not already celebrating. Let's see here. TK says this is the Knicks/Freeze effect. Absolutely. I think the defense will be able to be more rested as a result of this. So I think you have an overall better team when you feel as if you can go out there and you can impose your will offensively against folks. And listen, if Derek Nix is, I tweeted this jokingly. I was like, Derek Nix said he wanted to score 40 a game. He didn't tell us he wanted to average 40 points. He didn't tell us he meant per half. But if you're going to really go out there and you're going to put up 40 points per game, I said this confidently before the season when he said this, if this team can score 40 points per game, this team can win 10 games this season. I feel that good about where this defense can be by the end of the year, that 40 points per game on average puts you in a position where you should win the vast majority of your games. There are very few teams that you're going to have track meets with. Missouri looks like a team you might have to win a track meet against. Oklahoma looks like a team that might be a defensive slugfest out there. Really, Georgia's going to be good this year. God, Georgia's going to be good defensively again this year. I didn't watch the Bama game yet, so I don't really know. I mean, I know they beat the crap out of Western Kentucky, but I didn't watch that game yet. So I don't have a lot of opinions on what they are this season. Holla at me next week during the midweek report. I'll have way more opinions about some of these other teams once I've watched the full game from Kentucky. Haven't watched them play yet. Didn't watch all that South Carolina game yet. I'll definitely prioritize the folks that are on our schedule, watching them first. But looked good. And I think, again, if this team can score 40 a game, you're in a position where you can win the vast majority of these. Let's see here. What else do we got? Sherman Hall says it definitely was tiresome seeing them points go up. Laughing out loud, I was there. Yeah, man. You get so tired of seeing your team score. I wish I could have had some of the A&M folks on here live in the post game reacting. We're going to try to see if we can do that for y'all this year. See if we can get some of the folks from the other teams on and be in the post-game reactions with us, just to kind of get the perspective that they feel from the other side, win or lose, right? Like, I want to be able to do that. Randy Witherspoon says, I know it's A&M, but I'm happy how the Tigers played. Every week takes improvement. Yeah. See, here's the thing. Here's the beautiful thing about this. If you're an Auburn fan, is there were enough things that didn't go well that they can absolutely go back and coach them up, even in the midst of putting up 73 points. It didn't go so well that you can't go in and say, hey, guys, against a better team, this isn't going to be acceptable. You've got to make this catch. You've got to make this block. You've got to make this tackle. You've got to get this read correct if you're a DB. You've got to go out there and you've got to take this angle better. You've got to wrap up this tackle. Like, there's enough of that. You got to secure the football. There's enough of that in this film that allows you to go and coach really hard and say, Cal's not going to let you get away with this next week. We need to go out there and embarrass this team. And I feel like this team is going to come fired up and they're going to want to embarrass Cal to let people know, yeah, I get it. A&M wasn't a P5 team or a P4 team. Cal is. And we're going to do the same thing to them. And I think you got enough dogs on this team that they will say to themselves, that's exactly what we plan to do. We plan to go out there and embarrass everybody who steps foot on our field. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. Super chat here from Brian Hancher, who says, prayed no injuries. God said 10 minutes and 4 1/4. Sorry. Who got hurt? Did somebody get hurt tonight? I don't remember any injuries. Anyway, Curtis Jackson says he threw 2 picks early. Who is he? TJ Finley? Is that who you're referring to? Threw 2 picks early? Oh, you prayed for no injuries, so they cut to the last 2 quarters short, is what you were saying. Got it. Okay. Mike says he didn't watch the Bama game, but a friend said TJ threw 2 picks and Bama dropped another 4. What? TJ almost threw 6 picks. See, this was always the issue with TJ Finley. Always the issue with TJ Finley was the interceptions. He's not the most athletic quarterback, doesn't need to be. He's got a really strong arm. I think he's a very intelligent quarterback and he can make all the throws. The issue with TJ Finley was always the interceptions for me. That was my biggest issue with him, was just like, bro, like you put the ball in harm's way too much. Super talented, but turnover prone. Let's see. What else do we got? HYTYD. Is that supposed to spell something? Fishing. Is that like the name of a business? What does HYTYD stand for? That feels like an office hours question. We'll reconvene on that. We looked more crisp than we've looked in a long time. I agree with that. Very sharp, specifically on the offensive end. A little rough at times on defense, but it definitely looks sharp out there. Ben Butler says Alabama A&M's offense looked pissed when their defense got the turnover. They did not want to come back out on that field. That's funny to me. Chase says that Ron Roberts is Florida's next head coach. She's going to be the interim head coach. I assume that's what you mean by that. It spells high tide. Gotcha. High tide fishing. Got you. Cool. I'm with it. All right, man. That's enough of me sitting here talking. I know there's plenty of you guys out here trying to get in with chats, and I apologize I didn't get a chance to get to you. However, we will have plenty more opportunities to talk about this game tomorrow on the weekend tailgate. We'll be going live at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. As always, we'll be breaking down this game in more detail, get some more feedback from the other guys who are in the crew. And then, film review. Green Name Gang, lock in with us, man. We'll be here for film review. I'll let you guys know earlier in that day what day is. It's either going to be Monday or Tuesday when I get a chance to cut all this film up. So we'll get into that. But I'm out of here, man. I appreciate you guys jumping in here with me. But until the next time, and as always, War Eagle and peace.